Which of these two clips do you prefer? How about now? What about this one? What's the main difference? In fact, the only difference between these A and B tests. There's one mistake that many of us make when it comes to beginning your color grade. And I'll be honest, until I learned this and got it right, I hated the way my color grades looked. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that mistake is and the simple step that you can take to fix this problem instantly. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be demonstrating everything using my trusty A7S Mark III. However, this principle can be applied to pretty much any camera out there. Whether that's another mirrorless camera like Canon or Lumix, a drone such as the Mavic or an Avata, and even some action cameras. So let's begin. If you pull back the curtain, or in this case, the grade of this shot, it's very gray, bland and unsaturated. And for anybody who doesn't know, this is what log footage looks like before you start editing it. Easily the flattest profile on most commercially available cameras, some action cameras and even drones. But straight out of the box, let's be honest, it doesn't look very good. So we need to bring a little bit of life back to it. I've got a question for you. How many times have you added an S-curve and saturation to your log footage to make it look like Rec 709? Come on, be honest. That's what so many people have been told to do. And it's not right, nowhere near right. And then you learn about LUTs. So most people at this point will head over to Google, type in their favorite creator's name followed by the word LUT. You'll be handed a link to their store, you'll hand over your £20, you'll get the files, put it on your footage, but it never quite looks right. Why? The thing that some people fail to realize is that there's more than just the one part of your finished grade. And to keep things simple for the sake of this video, there's the actual grade that you see, the stylized look at the very end. But there's actually two steps before that we need to complete to get this footage looking right. First one being the conversion and the second one being the correction. But most of the time these two go hand in hand together, and for the sake of this video, we'll just call those two things collectively the conversion. With general LUTs that you buy off the internet, it has all of these steps put together, all handed to you in one single file for you to use at your free will. And if you don't want the overall look to be quite as strong, you can dial back the intensity. But by doing that, you're not just actually changing the intensity of the grade, you're also changing the intensity of the conversion. It may not seem like a major problem at the very beginning, but log footage is created using a lot of clever maths, which is way beyond me. And by dialing back that strength, you aren't getting the true conversion anymore. But more importantly, the one thing that none of these LUTs take into account is that the log footage from a Sony camera, a Canon, a Nikon, a Lumix, DJI, GoPro, we can go on forever, none of them are the same. And this is where conversion LUTs come in. And each one is unique to the camera brand that you're using, and sometimes even the picture profile on that camera that you're using. And as long as you use them correctly, you should easily be able to color match any footage from any camera in just a matter of seconds. So you need to make sure you're using the correct one. For instance, you couldn't take your Sony footage and then add your Vlog conversion LUT over the top, which you would normally use for a Lumix camera. Well, I guess you could, but I don't think it would look right. But how do you use these LUTs to begin with? Ideally, what you need to do is add the conversion LUT at 100% intensity. Then correct the footage if you need to in terms of white balance and exposure. And then if you wish, you can add your color grading LUT afterwards and adjust the intensity to suit your needs. That's pretty much the basis of color grading with a third-party LUT. However, if you want to go more in depth with color grading, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to make that happen. But if you go back to Google, there's a lot of conversion LUTs up for grabs. So I've done a little bit of work for you to save you some time. I have 4 of the most popular LUTs that we are going to put up against each other to see which is the preferred option. All of these LUTs have been made specifically for Sony cameras using S-Log3. However, some of these brands do make other conversion LUTs which can be used on other cameras. I'll leave a link down below to all the websites if you want to check them out after the video. So who do we have in the lineup today? We've got Leeming LUTs, we've got Phantom LUTs, we've got Gamut, and we're also going to be putting that up against their own manufacturer LUTs directly from Sony. It's got to be fair to include the manufacturer because you would think that the manufacturer would be the most accurate, wouldn't you? And the good thing about it is the Sony LUT is completely free and you can download it from their website. So let's do a blind test. I want you to sit back and look through these clips and tell me overall whether you prefer LUT A, B, C, or D. Write it in the comments and no cheating. I'll know. what do you think? Which one did you prefer? Did you prefer a particular LUT on one clip but not on another? It's really weird because that's actually happened to me in the past. Have you used any of these LUTs yourself in the past, and have you noticed any particular things that they show? Here's a few things that I've noticed from using these 4 different LUTs on many different projects throughout the years. And for those of you who love a good vector scope, I'll put a screenshot up for the color checker footage and let you compare. So let's begin with LUT A, which was Sony's own contribution. And I have a little confession about this. I haven't actually used it for a very long time. Ever since I got the Sony a7S III, I used it for a bit and it never really excited me. And to be fair, it gives you a really good starting point if you don't want to spend any money elsewhere. Moving on to B, was this one your favorite? This is the LUT from Gamut, and I always go to Gamut when I'm having to use any footage from a different camera brand and I've never really used it before. What I like about it is, again, it's very natural. I'd say even more natural than what the Sony LUT gives you. I feel like the Sony LUT brings out the saturation in particular colors, whereas the Gamut LUT seems to subdue it a little bit more. But between the two, there's definitely some areas where the hues are slightly different. Mostly in the warmer colors like the reds and oranges. For instance, have a look at the house in the back of the footage. Next up, we've got LUT C, which is Leeming LUTs. Definitely gives you a natural looking image with no weird colors just randomly sticking out. But there's one thing about Leeming LUTs that really annoys me. And I have a confession. Any of the clips that I've used in this video where I've had to apply the Leeming LUT over the top, I always have to increase the exposure by about 1 to 1.5 stops. Otherwise, straight out of the box, it always makes my footage look a lot darker than it should be. And it's not just me who notices that. There's a lot of people who I've spoken to who says the exact same thing about Leeming LUTs. So you can either increase the exposure in your camera if you have the headroom to be able to do that, or you can do it like I do in the editing process. And then we've got D, which looking in some of the wedding videography groups that I'm in seems to be the most popular. Phantom LUTs is quite interesting because it comes with 5 different LUTs to give you a different taste of the conversion. The one that I've used just for this video is the neutral one. However, if you want me to go a little bit more in depth into the Phantom LUTs, let me know in the comments. The neutral Phantom LUT again looks great, however there is still some kind of style baked into it, especially when you're comparing the Phantom LUTs to the previous 3. And if that's something you like, then Phantom LUTs is definitely the way to go. However, if it isn't, that's also fine too. Because with a lot of the conversion LUTs that are on the market, there's definitely no right or wrong as long as it gets your footage to a point where you're really happy with how it looks. It needs to give you a really nice color palette for you to start adding your grade on top of. It's all relative and entirely personal to what you want out of your footage. And if any of these conversion LUTs were close but not quite there to what you like, you can always make the adjustments and save it as a preset inside your editing software. Deciding on which one you should go for can greatly change the way your footage looks. It can change your colors and especially your skin tones. And they alone can give you a great starting point to build your grade on afterwards. But you have to remember that this conversion LUT is entirely separate to your actual grade LUT. But there's one thing that you need to nail before you even begin grading your footage, and all of that is in this video right here. I'll see you soon.